normalcy to our lives and livelihoods. Government is also mindful of a problem associated with vaccinations, and that is how to dispose of used PPEs, vials, needles, and syringes that are being used in the vaccination exercise. The government is collaborating with the private sector to establish 14 medical waste treatment facilities across the country to help address once and for all the safe disposal of medical waste. The pandemic, Mr. Speaker, has emphasized the need to expand access to health care for every Ghanaian, irrespective of his or her location. And I want to thank again and again all our frontline healthcare workers for their devotion to duty and sense of patriotism. The great amount of work undertaken by government has meant that we presently have some 307 functioning and well-equipped ambulances under the One Constituency, One Ambulance initiative, supported by a state-of-the-art digitized command center to field emergency calls and to dispatch ambulances. Last year, 33 major health projects were approved for implementation at the cost of 890 million euros. Key amongst them are the Koforidua Regional Hospital, Tema General Hospital, the Nephrology and Urology Center at Kolebu, redevelopment of the Fia and Kwanta Hospital into a teaching hospital, and the construction of a new regional hospital at Agna Kwanta in the Western region. As announced last year, Agenda 111, which will see to the construction of district hospitals in 101 districts with no hospitals, 7 regional hospitals for the new regions, including one for the Western region, the construction of 2 new psychiatric hospitals for the Middle Belt and Northern Belt, respectively, and the rehabilitation of Enfia the Kwanta Hospital in the Western region is on course. Construction of some of these hospitals has commenced and will continue without interruption. Agenda 111, the largest ever investment in healthcare infrastructure in our history, is part of a massive vision for Ghana's healthcare sector, the realization of which will lead to Ghana becoming a center of medical excellence and a destination for medical tourism, and will also see us achieve the following. Each of the 16 regional hospitals will be designated as a center of excellence in the different specialties of medicine. For example, orthopedic surgery, burns, plastic and reconstructive surgery, breast care center, fertility center, neonatology and pediatric center, neurosurgery and spine center, stroke center, heart and kidney center, and mental health center, to name a few. Continuously upgrade our medical curriculum and continue to train our young doctors and healthcare professionals in a world-class fashion. 3, incentivize the private sector to increase capacity to support demand in healthcare delivery. And 4, encourage Ghanaian medical experts in the diaspora to collaborate and join hands with us to help build and contribute to the realization of this noble vision. The West African region is estimated to reach a population of $500 million by 2020, by which time this vision would have been realized. Government will continue to invest in the health sector and will continue to recruit more health professionals in addition to the 100,000 recruited in my first term for our health facilities. Electronic medical record system, e-health deployment is currently underway following its implementation in key health facilities like Korle Bu, Komfo Anokye, Ho, Tamale, and Cape Coast teaching hospitals, and several district hospitals in the central region. Upper East, Upper West, and Bono regional hospitals will go live on the e-health platform in 5 days. Mr. Speaker, when it was needed most, at the height of the pandemic, the ingenuity and creativity of the Ghanaians showed through, which caught the attention of the world. When PPEs were being sold on the world market at extortionist prices, largely because demand outstripped supply, we began producing them in Ghana. Scrubs, medical gowns, sanitizers, masks, and gloves. All of these essential to the fight against COVID-19 were produced in Ghana. In total, 14,600,000 pieces of personal protective equipment have so far been produced domestically for health workers, students, teaching and non-teaching staff of tertiary and secondary educational institutions. We are determined to make our own things, and the Akufo-Addo government will continue with the agenda of rapid industrialization, with the aim of transforming the structure of the Ghanaian economy from one dependent on the production and export of raw materials to a value-added industrialized economy. Under the One District, One Factory initiative, 232 projects are at various stages of implementation. These include 76 operating as 1D1F companies, whilst 112, including 5 medium-sized agro-processing factories and 63 common user facilities, are under construction. Open your eyes, you'll see them. The Ghana Integrated Aluminum Development Corporation has made good progress on the bauxite exploitation program that will drive our industrial transformation agenda. We are in the final stage of an open and transparent investor engagement process and are in negotiations to select strategic investors to partner GIADEM for the bauxite mining and alumina refinery projects. The selected partners will be announced imminently. Similarly, the Ghana Integrated Iron and Steel Development Corporation, GISDEC, has been set up and has begun its work in earnest. We have succeeded in attracting major global vehicle manufacturers under the Automotive Development Policy to set up in Ghana. So far, Volkswagen has produced 1,167 vehicles, Sinotruck 276 vehicles, and our own Kantanka has produced 400 vehicles. Japanese conglomerate, Nissan, has also started the assembly of vehicles in the country. Mr. Speaker, our nation's food resilience has been severely tested over the past year. The closure of borders in the midst of the pandemic meant that we have had to depend largely on food we produced. We have fared well under the circumstances, largely as a result of the bold policies implemented by government since 2017, such as the Program for Planting for Food and Jobs, Rearing for Food and Jobs, the One Village, One Dam initiative, the One District, One Warehouse policy, the establishment of greenhouse villages, revitalization of the cocoa rehabilitation program, and the reactivation of our aquaculture industry. I'm happy to inform the House that during this period of the pandemic, we have experienced no food shortages in this country. There have been increases in maize and rice yields by 110% and 48% respectively. We have for the first time in a long while become a net exporter of food, as opposed to the days of importation of tomatoes and plantain. Indeed, in 2019, we exported some 140,000 metric tons to our neighbors. We are determined to take full advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area to produce more in Ghana, to sell more to Africa and beyond as we move Ghana beyond aid. The agreement for strategic partnership between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire has bound our two countries in even closer intimacy, especially in the cocoa sector. We have succeeded in aligning the cocoa production and marketing policies of the two countries and ensured that we do not continue to be victims or pawns of a global cocoa industry that is dependent on the toil and effort of our farmers. A new trading mechanism has been implemented and has ensured that a new cost item of 400 United States dollars per ton for every cocoa sold by the two nations, effective from the 2021 season, is paid to our farmers. Through the establishment of the Tree Crops Development Authority, the government is determined to end the over-reliance on cocoa and develop other cash crops such as cashew, cotton, mango, oil palm, rubber, and shea. The government remains committed to the completion of the many harbors and landing sites, which are different stages of completion in Senya Breku, Disco, Elmina, Moray, Winneba, Gumwafete, Tessie, Keta, Mumford, and Jamestown. Mr. Speaker, I am passionate about the education of every child in Ghana, because education opens doors. That is why one of my biggest concerns during this pandemic has been to safeguard the education of our children. All over the world, governments were forced to shut down schools as we did. However, we took steps to ensure that the education of our children was not truncated. Last year, bold and responsible decisions made it possible for JHS3 and SHS3 students to take their final examinations. And final year university students graduated. Currently, all our children from kindergarten to university are in school, studying in conditions of safety. This has taken place despite the outcry and opposition of some. I am required to provide leadership, and that is what I am doing. Government, through the Ministries of Education and Health, is doing all it can to ensure that the future of our children is not jeopardized by the pandemic. In 2020, the first batch of free SHS students wrote their WATC successfully. Results of the 2020 WATC indicates that more than 50% of candidates who sat the examination obtained A1 to C6 in all core subjects. This was an impressive WATC performance, with over 60% of candidates scoring between A1 and C6 in their best 6 subjects, including English and mathematics, which qualifies them for tertiary education. Mr. Speaker, 64 years after independence, we still do not have the critical mass of tertiary education graduates that is required for our socio-economic transformation. Currently, Ghana's gross tertiary enrollment ratio stands at 18.8%, which, albeit very low, is still one of the highest in Africa. We must therefore introduce measures to increase consciously the proportion of our population with relevant tertiary education to accelerate the transformation of our country. Our target is to increase the ratio from the current 18.8% to 40% by 2030, focusing on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM-related fields, with emphasis on engineering. This will be achieved by significantly increasing enrollment in existing public and private universities and through the establishment of an open university. We expect record numbers of enrollment over the next 4 years. Accordingly, we will fulfill our campaign manifesto promise by removing the guarantor requirement that makes it difficult for most students to apply for loans through the Student Loans Trust Fund program. As part of our commitment to the advancement of STEM, government will continue with the development of 20 STEM centers at 8 model sites, senior high schools across the country. These institutions will be fitted with state-of-the-art equipment and laboratories, which will facilitate teaching and learning in all areas, including artificial intelligence and robotics. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank this august House for passing the Education Regulatory Bodies Act 2020, Act 1023. The passage of this act has established the Commission for Technical Vocational Education and Training, CTVET, and the TVET service. All these will help to streamline delivery of TVET and avoid overlaps and duplication. We're also building 32 TVET institutions across the country to augment existing infrastructure for effective TVET delivery. In line with our commitment to address the issue of youth in unemployment through TVET, government will commence the implementation of the Ghana Jobs and Skills Project this year. The project seeks to expedite the development of competency-based training curricula on the National TVET qualification framework for 100 trades professions from level 1 national proficiency to level 5 higher national diplomacy, as well as training some 25,000 beneficiaries and provide entrepreneurial support to about 50,000 individuals. It will also seek to implement the Ghana Labor Market Information System and upgrade of district public employment centers and services. A key objective of our effort to improve quality education and ensure that our students become globally competitive is to maintain the integrity of our examinations and assessment. In connection with this, government, working through WAEC, will introduce new measures to curb examination leakages and malpractices. I acknowledge that the teacher is at the center of every reform in the field of education. Prioritizing the welfare of teachers remains a key objective of government. After the restoration of teacher training allowances, government is now paying professional allowances to both teaching and non-teaching staff. Something you found very difficult to do in 8 years. I'm happy to announce the government is facilitating the acquisition of 280,000 laptops for members of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, GNAT, the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, and the Coalition of Concerned Teachers, CCT, this year. Moving forward, the Minister for Education will soon detail an action plan for the implementation of the National Teacher Policy. Government has also introduced several interventions at the high school level. Some of these are the 198 million CD Academic Intervention Support Program dedicated for extra classes for students in SHS. Implementation of free internet connectivity for secondary school. Full absorption of BEC registration fee for all students in public junior high school from 2017 till date. And full absorption of WACC registration for students, which started last year. Mr. Speaker, our effort at digitization is gathering steam. When my government assumed office in 2017, we faced the challenge of a largely informal economy. The features of the informal economy included the absence of unique identification for citizens and residents of Ghana, and the absence of a working property address system across the country. Further, only a small proportion of our population was registered by the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, with tax identification numbers, TINs, and by SNIT for Social Security. 70% of the adult population did not have access to a bank account. Financial transactions were dominated by cash, and the processes of service delivery in most MDAs were largely manual and highly bureaucratic. It was in this context that we set about the process of formalizing our informal economy through digitization. Mr. Speaker, after 4 years in office, I'm happy to state that there's been more progress in formalizing the Ghanaian economy than there was in the previous 63 years since independence.